would say my 2025 end is finding joy. I think people say all the time, like, oh, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. Happy is conditional. I mean, like, true existential joy that, like, radiates farther than just, like, I woke up on the right side of the bed this morning.
Yeah.
I've
had my cup of coffee this
right,
morning.
like
Yeah.
or even like joy that cannot be wavered by this person cut me off,
Yeah.
and now my day is ruined.
Yeah.
I mean, like true, like the joy of the Lord.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Hey guys.
Huh?
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Being Real podcast. This is my first episode of 2025, so happy New Year. I hope the new year has welcomed you with peace and open arms. I hope you had a really good holiday season. Since this is the first episode, we are going to talk about 2025 ins and outs. And this is some terminology that I learned about from my daughter, Rian, who is going to be my co-host for today's episode.
Yeah.
This is the Being Rare edition of ins and outs. And so that's kind of stuff we're going to talk about.
So basically, an in and out is the ins are everything that we're bringing into 2025, and outs are everything that we're going to leave in 2024. You want to start?
I mean, so my first in is just self-care.
Right.
Physical, mental health, all the stuff. My in is self-care. I actually just posted a video, 45-second video of my weight health journey. I celebrated 1 year, January 8th. And so I just shared a video just talking about that whole process. It was a video of the journey, but the caption was just about the process and just really getting serious about it. And so self-care is a definite in for me. Physical health, mental health, just all the stuff. And the out is feeling like you have to say yes to stuff just to be included.
Oh my gosh. Wait, because I had
Like I'm out with, because I think a lot of times when you navigate medically complex diagnoses with your children and just all the stuff, and you got a lot of stuff going on, you want to be included, you want to be invited. We've heard a lot of people talk about losing friends when they got their child's diagnosis and just all the stuff. Yeah, that's an out for me. I'm not saying yes just to be a part.
Wait, okay, so that leads into my 2025 in, which is empathy. I think that there is a huge lack of empathy in the world right now. If you are unaware, there are a bunch of wildfires going around in California right now, and people are losing their homes. And in the news, a lot of people will document like celebrities losing their homes. And I think it's so sad that regular people will look at those videos and see those pictures and will say things like, "Oh, well, at least they're rich." I think that's so sad. I think that, and then just in regard to like losing friendship over a diagnosis, and I think that if you cannot look past yourself in that moment and what you need from somebody else, then you're not a good friend. I think that if you cannot truly take the time to look past just wanting to spend time with the person and consider maybe it's not easy for an individual to always meet up with you, or if you can't compromise, you're not a good friend. So I think empathy is a big N in 2025. I think people should just be a lot more understanding of other people's needs and other people's boundaries, because that's something that was like newly introduced, I think, in 2024. So I think we should keep working on that in 2025.
I mean, and let's just talk about balance, because I don't want to see on the news, just that a bunch of celebrities are losing their homes, because everyday people losing their homes too.
Yeah.
I mean, so, let's just talk about balance and making sure that everybody gets the same coverage. In terms of just raising awareness from an equitable standpoint. Like let's highlight everybody who might be experiencing whatever. Like it shouldn't just be this one-sided narrative about about anything, because the same people who are saying, well, they're rich and they can just replace it, that truly is a reality. Like, we don't want them to experience what they're experiencing. And I do agree, like, about the whole empathy piece. But let's talk about the people who don't even have the resources to replace all that they've lost. You know what I mean? So just that balance piece of it. And I just want to, I'm gonna throw that equity piece in there. I'm gonna throw that in
Well,
there.
and I think just for like from where I was coming from was more of like I think people need to be more aware that the rich are not excluded from
absolutely.
feelings.
Yeah.
And making a post about like, oh, like my children lost all of their toys, they lost all their clothes, we lost all of our family heirlooms. Like that's something that
it's important.
Again, it's something that's important across the board.
Right. No matter who you are.
Right, because rich people are allowed to feel grief.
Right.
And that's what I meant by like the empathy piece, like allowing, like seeing that and allowing people of all demographics to be able to sit in that grief for a moment.
Yeah. No, I get it.
And not shaming people, rich or otherwise, for feeling sad for something that can be replaced, because anything can be replaced.
Right.
But allow people to, in that moment, truly feel what they're feeling.
And not feel like you have to judge or criticize just because they have the financial resources to replace it or whatever.
Right, don't be a hater, girl.
Yeah, I was just, I just had to slide.
Because I mean, like, at the end of the day, yes.
I get it. So another N for me is 2025. Let my son Elijah, who has a rare condition, communicate how he needs to communicate, even if it's disrupting the atmosphere. Like, that's an
At the end of the day,
that's an N for me. What's out is apologizing for his outbursts and the fact that he got loud, the fact that he disrupted the service, the fact that he disrupted the program. Because his outbursts, that's how he talks to us, that's how he communicates. And when he gets loud, he's trying to tell us something. And I think I apologize when I notice somebody looking or staring or just whatever the case may be, out, not apologizing. I'm in 2025. I'm trying to figure out what he's trying to say to me.
I think, and that, that leads into my next N actually too. But I think people should be less judgmental when it comes to people with special needs. And I don't mean favor. I mean they need to be, my 2025 N, they need to educate themselves and be more open-minded. Because I think, like, when I was, I guess, younger, and even sometimes now, I often find myself, like, frustrated with Elijah. Like, oh my gosh, like, I wish he would stop for the sake of making somebody else comfortable.
Out.
I'm not like, no, people should be able to express themselves and to have a space to express themselves without the fear of discomforting somebody else who isn't willing to open their mind to people with disabilities or people who have a different way of expression than they do.
Yeah.
So that's my 2025 in educating yourself and open-mindedness. I think that we live in a world that is so like you have access to everything. You have access to all forms of education. You have access to Google. You have access to literally everything. If you don't take the time to Google something, like how hard, I think for me, even before Elijah was born, it was never difficult for me to include somebody, or it was never difficult for me to look past people's differences. So if Ryan in the second and first and kindergarten could look past somebody who had Down syndrome and see them as a kid, you can do that too.
Yeah.
If I as a youngin could look past
Because it's about
somebody,
choice.
right? Like if I could look past the fact that somebody who was nonverbal was still trying to speak to me, and I could take the time to listen and understand what they were trying to say or tell me, you can too.
I mean, or make something up. Because at the end of the day, I mean, because like I get the complexity that comes with trying to decipher a sound,
A babble.
a babble, right? But that doesn't mean you can't entertain that and just be like, oh, you know what? I was just thinking that. You know what I'm saying? Like you can have some playful banter to kind of steal dialogue with, with that babble, especially when it's a child. You know what I'm saying? So um I'm over trying to silence him. Now, and that doesn't mean I'm just gonna let him be all over the place.
Right.
But
Discipline is still a thing.
like discipline is still real. I'm saying I'm over trying to silence him for the sake of kind of like what you were just saying, making somebody else comfortable. Like like the atmosphere is comfortable when he's making the noise. It's comfortable for him, which is important to me. And so I'm not going to shush him because you tired of him. Out, done.
Like, oh my gosh.
And I don't think I did a lot of that anyways, but I do know I did.
I think it was like a
Elijah.
subconscious thing.
Yeah, or if you make that eye contact, you might be like, sorry. No, done.
Look,
Over.
you do not have to worry about Jeremiah doing that because he would.
My Jeremiah. He'll shut the whole place down.
I know we visited a church one time and I was sitting, you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think so. Just don't call the name.
I won't. But I wasn't sitting with my parents, and I was sitting with some people that I knew, and I heard Elijah, as one does. You could literally hear Elijah from a mile away, a mile or three. But one of the girls that I didn't know her personally, but she was like a friend of a friend. She was like, "Oh, get that baby out of here. Why won't he hush?" And I literally started to sweat bullets. Like I was like, "Oh my God. Oh my gosh. That's literally my little brother." And I can't say that it was more like, "Dang it, why does Elijah have to be so loud?" But I think it was more like this like internal frustration because he's a kid. Kids are gonna make noise. But then too, I think it was more this frustration that why does this person have to be so like dramatic about a noise? Like why does somebody making noise bring you so much discomfort?
Yeah.
And I think to piggyback even off of that, why do people who are different bring you so much discomfort? And I think that's the real gag.
Yeah.
Because I feel like when people say things like that, or like when people try to silence people who are different, it's truly because they have a fear of differences.
Yeah. And I think for me, because, we had a different experience at a different church. And 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 they didn't have like a children's area to take him to, so he was with everybody, and he was making noise. And I actually talk about this a little bit on another episode that's an upcoming episode. But he was making noise, and somebody was like like, hey. And I was like, And I think the feeling for me was I wasn't even defending Elijah in that moment. In that moment, I felt like I was defending myself. Like just as a parent, like like if it was that simple, I would have did that already.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like why do you think that's the solution? Something so simple and I ain't think of it.
Yeah.
Like it'd be different if he was my first kid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And new mom, and I just didn't know. You know what I'm saying? But you talk about I'm 5 children in, and
Right, like we got it covered over
I
here.
mean, and you
Like
think I wouldn't? I would. It ain't crossed my mind one time
to just go
to just say shh, and it would work, girl. Bye.
like because the crazy thing is Elijah will have you upside down on
I
your
mean,
head.
like seriously,
Please.
in out, in taking my time, especially if I'm navigating Elijah in his wheelchair. What's
Don't
out
rush. Don't rush.
What's out is feeling rushed because I know you're waiting on me to get done and move out of the way, whatever the case may be. Now, that's not to say that I'm going to strategically take my time.
Like dilly dally.
Yeah, I ain't gonna just be like, oh, I'm about to make them wait. Is that's not the energy I'm talking about. I'm talking about that energy of um I ain't even got the wheelchair out the car good or or we haven't even found a path to maneuver through with the wheelchair. Like I'm talking about that type of stuff. Like I'm still figuring out how I'm going to navigate whatever it is. But I feel your energy of I wish they hurry up.
Because I'm not.
I'm not.
I'm not.
I'm
That's
not.
the gap.
I can remember before Elijah started riding the bus and before when it was more pre-K and they had the car line drop off. And I could remember feeling so much pressure because we were the only family in his pre-K program with a wheelchair. Um or at least with the wheelchair that came through the car line. I never saw another wheelchair. And I can just remember feeling so rushed trying to get the wheelchair out of the trunk and get it on the sidewalk and then get him out and then get him in. And the car behind me, um, their kid is out the car and they're just sitting waiting in the car in front of me. Their kid is out the car and they've actually driven off. And if I wasn't in the way, the car behind me could have driven off. And I just remember feeling this pressure of I need to hurry up and move things along and all this type of stuff and people just looking weird and I'll never forget that a couple of teachers at the school because I talked about it on a 1 Minute Monday and they were like, so who giving you the side eye because we'll say so. And I was like, I felt so empowered, like, you know what, like yeah, I'm not gonna deliberately hold up the line, but I'm not gonna rush
I'm not
myself.
going to
I'm
inconvenience
not gonna
myself.
I'm not gonna hit my knee because I'm trying to rush. I'm not gonna stump my toe because I'm trying to rush. I'm not gonna accidentally, strap him in wrong because I'm trying to rush. I'm out.
I would say my 2025 in is finding joy. I think people say all the time, like, oh, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. Happy is conditional.
Mm-hmm.
I mean like true existential joy that like radiates farther than just like I woke up on the right side of the bed this morning.
Yeah.
I've
had my cup of coffee this
right,
morning.
like
Yeah.
or even like joy that cannot be wavered by this person cut me off,
Yeah.
and now my day is ruined.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean like true, like the joy of the Lord.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that I think as a sister of somebody who has a medical health, a rare disease and medical health needs, at one point it was hard for me to be happy
Mhm.
because there was like so many opinions about everything.
Everything.
And then even like looking at him for myself and being like, does he do this because he's gonna, like, there was even a time like when Elijah was first born, I was like, this is probably not good, but I was like literally preparing myself to wake up the next day and he would be dead. Like I would literally wake up and be like, today's the day.
Yeah.
Today's the day. I know today's gonna be the day. And so I was like mentally preparing myself for that. And I could not enjoy the fact that he was not.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that I think more than I think people will realize. Don't get my toes.
I was just trying to real.
I think more. I think they were like this. Sorry.
You know, I don't edit my episodes.
No, it's fine. So. Okay. I think more than people realize, I understand what it's like to feel like I can't do this because I have a kid like this, or I can't go out with my friends because my little brother, my parents need me to watch my little brother, or feeling like, oh, I can't go out because I can't bring those germs back home. Like, I get that. And I've even had friends tell me to my face, I didn't invite you because your brother. Well, that can be a very hard thing for somebody in their freshman year of high school to hear. To know that you're being excluded for something that has really nothing to do with you.
Indirectly.
But something to do with you.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, the reality of it is, because as a mom, I actually experienced that and was challenged with that too. Just the worry and the concern of any day I could wake up and Elijah not be here. And I think a lot of that is the conditioning that the healthcare system put on me in terms of the diagnosis and all the stuff. But then there was a day that I just decided.
We got to have church.
Listen, I just decided, rather than being afraid that I would wake up and he would be dead, I rested in joy and expected him to be alive. And so every morning I expected him to be alive. And I removed that fear. And so I had to change my own perspective. And here we are. He's about to be 8 years old.
Well, and I don't think I ever.
And I know it ain't got nothing to do with me.
Right.
I'm just talking about when you change your perspective, you can, come on now, you can find your joy, right? Like you got to change your own outlook on things. And so, yeah.
And I don't think I ever consciously made that decision, but I think that there was a point where I was like, if it's going to happen, I don't have any memories of him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was upset with myself for not taking the time to get to know my fourth brother.
Yeah.
And I was upset with myself that, like, if he does pass while I'm at school or while I'm sleeping, I don't know anything about this little boy.
Yeah.
And so there was, like, when he had jaundice and he had to wear those glasses, I would literally, like, do you remember that? I would literally sit at the edge of the bed with my chin on the bed and I would just watch him.
Yeah. Because I think, and that's a perspective change.
Like, and that brought me so much peace and joy, like, to know, like, to see his little chest rise and fall, and to see him,
and
like,
now
that was like.
And now he's ripping your glasses off.
Like broke them.
I'm just saying, it's all about perspective. I mean, that's just what's in. Like, changing your perspective about things. Like, stop being so caught up in your own self that you can't be open to changing how you view things. And I'm talking about changing how you view things to better you as an individual.
Right, like, don't feel sad about something that your child or whoever has the rare condition does not see as a burden. You can't, like, you know what I'm saying? Because if it's not a burden for them who has to carry it, then it shouldn't be a burden to a degree for you.
Yeah, and I think and as a caregiver, as a mom, I know that that's easier said than done. But the reality of it is, you know, like Elijah, he doesn't know the burden that comes with maybe feeling like he wasn't going to have a friend, for example. So that's a burden to me as a mom. But then I find out that
He
he
called himself trying to
he
have a girlfriend.
he walks through the school, and according to his teacher, students from other class are like, "Hey, Elijah, what's up, Elijah?" So clearly he has friends,
I can
but
do you one better. My friends will be like, Ryan, I saw your little brother.
right?
Like, I'll get texts all the way in Auburn. Ryan, guess who I just saw? There are a list of people who could have
Who it could have
been
been,
seen today.
right? And
I
it's
saw your
Elijah,
brother.
right? It's Elijah.
Oh,
I mean, but I think it's just that, like, I think when there's just cause to be burdened by something, be burdened. I'm a firm believer of letting yourself feel, but then I'm also a firm believer of deciding when it's time to move from that feeling. And nobody can determine what that length of time is, but you, right? But I do believe that I don't deprive myself from feeling what I feel and having my emotions and different things like that. Like I think that that's helpful, especially to myself at this stage of my life. Um, but I also have learned that in that whatever that emotion or that feeling is in that moment, it's not something that I have to hold on to long term. Um, and long term is relative. And so yeah, that's where I am with that. Let me see, what's my next end? My next end, language that suits my child and my family. What's out is feeling forced to use language for medically complex diagnoses or special health needs, that suits somebody else. Even in the disability space, people disagree on language. And I will respect if someone doesn't like or use terms like disabled or handicapped or special needs or disease versus condition. I respect whatever your preference is, but I'm not going to feel forced to choose someone else's preference for our journey. I'm just out. Like I'm like we can just have different opinions about it, because some things that I've heard don't bother me the way that they bother other people. And I think it's as long as we respect that somebody else feels differently about it, that's good enough for me. But I'm not going to be persuaded to um use language for Elijah, or when I'm talking about Elijah, because somebody else thinks that it's more
appropriate.
appropriate, etiquette, uh, or equitably appropriate. I mean, let's just be fair. I'm a black mom to a black son with a rare condition, and so when we talk about inclusivity, yeah, I might not be the one to try to say, well, that word is not inclusive. Like,
Gagged. I would say my outs, because I'm kind of out of ends, but my 2025 outs are infantilizing people with special needs and rare diseases. This is a conversation that we had yesterday.
mhm.
Um, I saw a TikTok of this older gentleman. He wasn't like old. He was older than me. He had a wife, kids, all this stuff. And in the comments, there was just like a bunch of people who were like, "Oh, he's so cute," or "Oh, this is so adorable. Oh, he's perfect. I would die for him." Blah, blah, blah. And there were like hearts and all these like emojis and all this stuff. And I really felt like, to some degree, they were like belittling him as somebody who needed to be taken care of and as somebody who needed to be babied in order to function in this world.
Mhm.
And that bothers me because he's a grown man who
With
has
the
a wife,
right.
who has children, who raised those children, and who helped take care of those children. And to some degree, I can understand, like, he may need help to, function,
To do
but
stuff,
he
yeah.
doesn't need to be babied.
Babied, yeah.
And I think a lot of the times, more times than I think people realize, people with special needs and people with medical health needs are often, um, I guess, what's the word? Like, watered down to their disability and are not, and people don't look past their disability. And so I think that's something that we need to leave in 2024. Feeling like somebody in a wheelchair has to be like coddled, or feeling like somebody who uses crutches needs to be taken care of. I think unless that person asks for your help, don't feel like you have to rush to them to be their knight in shining armor. I think it's degrading in a way. I think, like, even for Elijah, like, when people get down on his level and, oh, he's so cute, he's so adorable, like, he is, but like, let's pipe down.
Yeah.
I think that's just so overwhelming for an individual, and I think it can be just demeaning in a way.
Yeah, because they're not like a puppy dog,
right? You know, and I think a lot of people look at them as like pets in a way. Like, when I was in high school, I would see a certain group of people who would go up to like the special needs students, and a lot of those students they would have like Down syndrome, or they would be nonverbal, or they would have like some form of autism, and the certain group of people would go up to them and they would be like, oh, he's so cute, or oh, this is my bestie. And I think to some degree, regardless of how genuine they were being, it still felt almost as if, like, almost comical in a way. Like, this was not, you did not see this person as a person, but you saw them as like a catalyst for you being a good person. Yeah. And I think that that's just demeaning and degrading, and it's gross, and I don't like it. So let's leave that in 2024.
Yeah, well, and I get that because I think when I see people, like you said with Elijah, when people kind of approach and they're kind of like, "Oh my gosh, hi." Okay, so like, why your speech slowing down? You know what I'm saying? Like, why you dragging out your words? Hi, and like, maybe, why you singing?
Like, and I think. And I think,
like, why are we singing right now? Just say hello.
Like, maybe I might be thinking too hard on it, but I truly, like, pay attention to how people respond to people who are different, and to people who have medical complexities, and people, like, pay attention to how people react when you tell them that you have autism, or when you tell them that your child has a rare disease. Like, because they change up, they switch up for real. People, like, it's
not the code switching.
It's
not the code switching.
It's I don't think that's code switching.
Is it code switching?
No.
That is a form of code switching.
No, it's not. Code switching is like, as a Black person, I'm code switching right now. That's code switching. It's like, for Black people, it's like a form of professionalism. It's like when you use a voice on the phone.
Okay, well, code switching can be anything.
Well, yes, but I'm saying I don't think that's right for this context.
Okay, well then stop being fake. Is it fake?
That's the gag. It's fake. Like, I just believe that people
just listen.
Baby, people who have disabilities,
just
be normal.
Just talk to people. Like, don't you ain't gotta water down and just be like, oh my God, hi. Yeah. Like, you're adorable. Oh my God, look, you're so cute. Like, y'all.
I got tore into from my own brother. I was talking to this girl and I was like, oh yeah, my baby brother. And she's a good friend of mine. But she was like, Rian, he is not a baby. He is 7 years old. He is a big boy. You will not talk about him like that. And I was like,
shit.
Okay, girl, you gagged me. Gagged.
I mean, because because I think at some point you do, like, I find myself snuggling Elijah, but he's a snuggler.
Yeah.
Like I don't do it because it's a oh come here like y'all.
And if I'm just being honest, I feel like
Yeah.
sometimes I overstep that line, but like
You his sister.
he's so adorable.
He
I can
is.
think that y'all can't though.
He
So
is adorable. I just no, I get what you're saying though. Like that whole treating people.
there's a time and there's a place.
Yeah.
Like I think if Elijah approaches you in a way that makes you go, "Oh, he's so sweet,"
Yeah.
because I think that that's how any adorable kid would make you feel.
But it's something different when everybody in a wheelchair becomes, oh, you're so adorable.
Right.
Because then you've conditioned yourself to put adorability. Is that a word? I'm gonna make that a
If you want
word.
it to be.
We're gonna make that a word. You're associating adorable with the wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's the piece for me.
Because like I mean, like the gag is, why are we putting them in a box? People in wheelchairs can be criminals too.
I mean,
people in wheelchairs can be ugly.
They could be anything, right?
They could be anything. Like, and that's I mean, like, and as I was kidding, but
don't
like,
limit. Like, don't limit. And see that's my next end.
Well, because I think when you
the
have
labels,
language like adorable and cute, that really puts like an emphasis on like innocence and like childish like things. So I think when you have a grown adult like the guy in the TikTok who is a grown adult, people are responding to him existing as adorable. It really like dilutes him as an individual and as a person
and as a man,
and as a grown man, and that could be humiliating and emasculating. That could be very harmful and detrimental to a person's mental health. That could be very detrimental to a person's image of themselves. And now, do I believe that you shouldn't allow people to do that to you? Yes, but I still think that that could be a very degrading experience. And it's something that we as normies should, try to check ourselves when we approach people.
Well, and I think that's why it's so important to
educate yourself.
Yeah, and I was about to say, and be open to how people respond when you approach them. You know what I'm saying? Like like if a person, you can tell if a person is, if they become a little standoffish, then they don't like the baby talk. You know what I'm saying? Like I think, because I think it's appropriate in its place. Like I think you just said that. Like I think in its place is fine, but I think overall sometimes you just got to check yourself. And like I'm gonna treat your baby like a little boy, a little girl. I'm like, girl, what's up? Like I'm not gonna make them feel like they can't be a big girl or a big boy because they have different, healthcare needs or difficult or medically complex diagnoses. And that's really the gist of it. Like just, I mean, I ain't saying treat them like those needs aren't there. I'm saying,
but exploiting those needs for your entertainment.
Yeah, or like don't treat them like all you see are those different needs. Like see them, and respect the fact that they have different needs.
That's one of my outs too.
My last N was labels. Like a lot of people don't like for their kid to be labeled, which I think plays a lot into the whole language piece of it. For me, what's out are the negative connotated labels, like using labels negatively. That's what's out for me because I don't personally think a label is a bad thing depending on the label and how it's presented. Like Elijah being in a wheelchair, he's labeled disabled. Well, being labeled disabled, for example, it gets me a handicap decal parking. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the gag.
So the label was helpful because I can park closer, to places that I frequent and not have to struggle to get him out of the car from all the way back, in the parking lot. And so I think but I think it's when we make labels negative, um it's when it's a problem for me. So that's what's out for 2025. Just the negative labels and using negative connotations when we talk about labels. But labels themselves, girl, you better get them resources, get them
Look,
labels.
something I always say is it's not what I say, it's not what racism can do to you, but what it can do for you. In this context, it's not what your disability does to you, but what it can do for you.
Listen.
Let me tell you something about handicap decal. Look,
Listen.
you go to the grocery store and you got
and you got to get
12
Elijah,
bags, and you have to carry Elijah because you put him in the buggy.
to leave the wheelchair. If Elijah in the car,
that first, second, third handicap spot, please, girl.
I'm just saying,
Please.
you think about Elijah, 7 years old, and he still wears infant diapers. I'm talking about like the diapers you buy for babies. I'm not talking about big boy diapers. He still wears diapers that you buy, for your little.
Because he's got a little.
And a label is helping us cover the cost of those. Like do you know if we had to purchase the diapers that he used at home and the diapers that we have to send to school, how expensive that can be? So I'm grateful for resources that are available to help offset the cost of that. Well, guess what? A label, a diagnosis, is what helps us get that support. And so I mean, I don't know.
And that just goes back to shifting your perspective and finding the joy in your situation. My last out is exploiting the stories of people with special health needs for entertainment and then excluding them. So there was a new movie that came out with Sebastian Stan and Adam Pearsons, I believe is his name. And there was a lot of discourse about that on social media because Adam Pearsons, who has
neurofibromatosis, I think.
I can't pronounce that. But basically, are they like tumors on his face? So they're like tumors that basically like contort his face.
Well, at least I know that's what it does to the character in the movie. I don't know if that's what it does to the real person.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Because he's got the tumors on his face.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And so there was like a whole discourse because Sebastian Stan was invited to the Golden Globes and received an award for his acting in the movie. But Adam Pearson, who's I believe it's his story,
I think that's correct,
was not invited at all.
So he was not invited, or at least that's what social media.
That's what everybody's saying. He was not invited to the event whatsoever. And
Adam, if you watching or listening, and that's incorrect,
please let somebody know, child. Please let somebody know.
But because
the girls are defending you endlessly.
According to social media,
we're trying to help you out. So if we're wrong,
if we are incorrect, our apologies. But according to social media, Adam was not invited.
Right. And that just goes back to like exploiting. I think it's super duper important that if you're going to tell the story of anybody, but especially somebody,
because he may have been invited and didn't want to go.
Right. Because I can understand that too.
Right.
I'm a homebody myself.
Yeah.
But I think just for the sake of the conversation, he wasn't invited, all that stuff. I think that when it comes to telling the story of somebody who has a rare disease or medical complexities, I think it's very, very important to make sure that they're at the forefront of that story, whether it be they are behind the scenes telling everybody how it really played out or how it really made them feel. I think it's important that when it comes to telling their story, they're at the forefront. They have the biggest say.
To which the only way they can really get the story accurate is with his input. And I will say, I know according to Sebastian Stan, I know he interacted with Adam. Like even in his acceptance speech, he mentioned that he had worked closely with him or whatever. Now, if in fact he was not invited, Golden Globes and everybody involved, shame on you. If Adam truly was not invited, if he was truly not invited, shame on you for having representation of this movie about him and not giving him the opportunity to be in the audience. Shame on you. If in fact he was invited
and he didn't go
and he just chose not to go,
Adam,
then I take it back. Golden Globes, good job for inviting him and making him feel welcome. And then Adam, I respect that you didn't want to be there for whatever reason. I stand with you for not wanting to be there if that's the case. Yeah. So I'm giving both sides of it. Both sides, because I don't know. All I know is what's circulating. And and I didn't even know that until she said it.
I just I don't know. I just think it's important to make sure that if you're going to talk about inclusion, I think that you have to make sure that the people that you are representing, that they are in the front of that representation. And then something that I will say too is that the press for that movie did a very good job at making sure that both Sebastian Stan and Adam Pearson were like at the forefront of the what is it called?
Like the media
premieres and stuff like that. Yeah. I think that they did a very good job at making sure that people saw him and people were aware of him and that people knew who he was and the kind of person that he was, because he's a very good speaker. And I think I can appreciate the fact that they allowed him to speak and allowed the opportunity for people to listen to him. That's so true. If he was not invited, Golden Globes, you took the opportunity for the world to be educated away from them.
You took the opportunity from a person who lived it, not a person who played it.
And that's
on that note, and that's if you didn't. Only if.
Right, because if we're wrong,
if we wrong, we wrong.
Hey, YOLO, you only live.
Hey, if we wrong about it,
just
my bad. But holler at me. Let me know, and we can do an episode about it. Let's talk about it. I mean, I'm not trying to leverage Sebastian Stan and all he had to say because he played the guy.
Did he play him?
I think he was I think he was Adam in the movie.
Let's just see.
I think that's what it said. Because I remember him talking about like the prosthetics and everything it took to get him into character. I think he played him.
I think, what is it called? A Different Man. That's what it's called. Cast.
I think he played Adam.
Oh no, see?
Oh, Adam played himself?
He played somebody else.
Oh, and Sebastian played Edward.
Whoever Oswald is. That's a cool name.
Clearly, I don't know a whole bunch about the movie. I don't know. I hadn't watched it. So I just saw it at the Golden Globe. But then I hadn't seen nothing circulating about it outside of the Golden Globes, and I wouldn't.
That's something too. Let's not silence stories of people who have. Look, I'm a huge musical theater fan. Wicked was phenomenal. I love Wicked, but Wicked is not the only movie that came out.
Yeah,
the message that Wicked had was so beautiful, but I think when it comes to stories like this,
real life,
I think that they need to be just
they need the same level of press.
I think they need to be just as represented because, again, like I said, I think when you don't put people like Adam and Sebastian Stan and like movies like this at the forefront with big blockbusters like Wicked, I think that you are taking away the opportunity for regular normies to educate themselves and to learn. Because to me, I believe that you don't know that something is wrong until you're told that it's wrong.
Yeah.
And that's when you have the opportunity to learn and research. But if we don't know that people like Adam Pearson exist, then how can we educate ourselves? And I think that when you don't put his story and his acting career ahead with movies like Wicked, then
To
you're
which,
you're just
yeah, and to which this is not a movie. What do you call it?
right. It's not like a debate on movies or anything. I'm just saying, like, I think that there needs to be a level of equitability because I had no idea this movie was coming out.
Well, I think too, that's one of those. I think budget and a whole bunch of other stuff plays a part in that too, in terms of like premieres and promotions and you know what I mean? Like I think and see, and that's a whole nother episode because now that makes me think, like why would the budget for A Different Man, for example, be so small if that was the case, to where they didn't have the same level of reach, or just whatever, because I had not heard of the movie either until the Golden Globes, to which I still would not have heard of it if my husband had not turned the TV on because I wasn't even watching it. So
That's the
there's that.
gag.
So there's that. Either way. All right. That's all we got. 20, yeah, sometimes you get started. 2025 ins and outs. The Being Rare edition. If you are not following Being Rare, you should be. I don't know what you're waiting on. Go ahead and follow us on any platform that you stream your podcast. You can also find the live recording of our episodes on YouTube. Go ahead and hit follow, hit subscribe, and make sure your notifications are on so you can know when we upload new episodes. We're trying to get episodes loaded every Thursday at 2 p.m. Central Time. This episode will probably go out on Friday just because of the recording dynamics and all the stuff. But either way, it'll be out there for y'all to see. I think that's all I got. Any last words?
Bye.
All right, guys. Until the next one, be rare. Holla at you. Peace.